Good evening and welcome back to the Turnstile. My name's Harry, and thank you again for joining us on this road to 100 subscribers. We've got a great game to cover for you after this Easter weekend. Arsenal on the road away at Anfield. Obviously, a massive, massive game. There was a lot of build up in the media. The history of our record at Anfield. Haven't won there since 2012 when Mikel Arteta was in the team. It really was geeing it up to be a really, really big match. Obviously, we know the repercussions that this game would have had in the league table. There is now obviously with the draw that we've got, it means that by the time that we play Manchester City, they could be only 3 points ahead of us, which makes that game at the Etihad absolutely vital, as a win for them would put them top on goal difference. But in terms of the game itself, we knew that it was going to go well from minute one. I thought when the team came out the tunnel, they had their huddle. You could see players like Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Ramsdale. They were all smiling. They were laughing. It looked like they were really composed, really relaxed. It looks like Arteta's really got the mentality of these guys in the right place. They played their football. They were composed for the first 35 minutes. What a way to start the game. The first goal, Saka's movement, the way that he cuts inside from Robertson, leaves him for dust. Obviously, a little bit fortunate with the deflections of Van Dijk. But again, a very calm, cool finish from Martinelli to put us 1-0 up. Liverpool looked out of the game, to be honest with you. I think that we could have put the game to bed earlier. We saw Trent being run absolutely ragged by Martinelli, and not for the first time either. He was really, really struggling on that side. Obviously, Granit Xhaka releasing him, nice, easy, straight ball over the top of Trent's head, setting Martinelli in so he can whip in a nice early cross. Van Dijk seems to look over his shoulder to see Gabriel Jesus in the middle of the box, but he doesn't even attempt to reposition himself. He just sort of lets it go over him. And it's a nice, easy header for Gabriel Jesus. At that point, looking at the football we were playing, how the game was going, I thought this was going to be a happy afternoon. I thought that it would get tougher. I thought we'd get into half time at 0-0, a bit like with the Spurs game where they were terrible in the first half. They'd get a rocket sent up them in the half-time break and they'd come out. But that incident with Granit Xhaka, I can't really blame Xhaka too much. I think most players would have had the reaction that he had. There was a part of me that was worrying that the old Granite was creeping back in slightly, but when you watch it back, he is fouled quite clearly by Konate. I think it's a joke the referee hasn't given a free kick there. So the incompetence of the referees, which we've seen across the Premier League this weekend, has then caused his reaction where he's then left one in on Trent, and it's all got a little bit heated. But we learnt that last year, and we should have taken that lesson into this game that with Anfield, the last thing you want to be doing is waking that crowd up. They were stunned into silence. That was the last thing that we needed. And then to make it worse, they scored, I think it was a minute and 30 seconds after that. So it didn't look great. I think that then starts to play on people's minds. So especially Granit Xhaka, he started to look, like I said before, like the old Granit Xhaka, a little bit shaky, a little bit worked up, a little bit rash. I'm very surprised that there were no red cards in the game. Some of the challenges that were going in, the emotion that was in there. There was a lot of dissent from Liverpool players that was caught on the cameras. There was Andy Robertson swearing at the linesman, Henderson. Obviously, Arsenal were wasting quite a lot of time when we were ahead. But you would have thought in most other games they would have been booked. It did seem like Paul Tierney really lost control of that game. And I have no idea what happened with the linesman as well. It looked like Robertson was complaining about something. He's tried to put his arm on the linesman. He's just thrown his elbow up to try and like get him off him. It's caught him in the face. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think Liverpool might have been asking for it a little bit, the way that they were complaining so much. It just wasn't a good look for the linesman either, though. Now, once the first goal went in, it changed the whole complexion of the game. Obviously, from that point on, it was backs to the wall performance. Rob Holding was incredibly unlucky to give away the penalty. I thought it was a very soft penalty, but a penalty nonetheless. And Salah again missing the target completely. I think that's two in a row now, which is a cardinal sin. You can't be missing the target from the penalty spot. So it's a massive let off. Rob Holding let off the hook. Arsenal let off the hook, but it did feel like a matter of time until they scored. For the The equalising goal, I think Zinchenko was beaten too easily. At that point, you can't be letting someone cut through you like that. I think Tierney probably should have come off the bench sooner. I think some of the substitutions in the second half were a little bit rash, and they showed that there was some sort of panic going on there. I thought bringing in Kivior was a very strange call. He's not played a lot of minutes for Arsenal. I think he played just over 60 odd minutes in the game away at Sporting Lisbon. And there was another game where he came on, but only very briefly. Throwing any player on away at Anfield in a game like that, which is almost Premier League title defining, I think it's a very strange call, especially when you looked at the bench. You could have, if you wanted to go more defensive, maybe dropped Partey back into that central defensive role, or joining that back line and brought Jorginho on, if that was the way that you wanted to go, because that way you've got a lot more experience, calmer heads. You might start winning the midfield battle a little bit more. That seems like it would have been the smarter option. So I don't know what he's done there. Kivior obviously came straight on, swing and a miss, which has allowed Liverpool to go 1-on-1. And that obviously led to the heroics of Aaron Ramsdale. What a match he had. I remember when we were linked to him, the money we were going to pay for him, getting absolutely ridiculed by every other fan and fan base. Everyone was laughing at us, thinking that we were overpaying, that we had Leno there that was good. I would happily die on the hill and say that Aaron Ramsdale is in the top three goalkeepers in the Premier League. Not just on his shot stopping ability, which we saw at the weekend. He has, over his Arsenal career, made some fantastic saves, but what he brings to the team as well, his distribution, the calmness at the back. He is a top class goalkeeper. And I think that he is underrated. He should go ahead of Pickford for the England squad. I think the only reason he doesn't is purely on the style of football that England play. It's not as intricate as, say, Arsenal when they're trying to play from the back quite a lot. So definitely one to watch there, in terms of the England position. Now, going into the remaining games, obviously, we now know that with the draw, by the time we play City, it could be a 3-point gap. We expect them to win their games. That means if they beat us, they'll go top and goal difference. So a draw away at the Etihad is absolutely vital. And I said this for the Spurs game, and I said it for this Liverpool game as well. When a record is so bad somewhere, eventually it is due to turn. That will flip soon enough. I think we've lost something like 11 in a row now for Manchester City, or we've not beaten them in 11 games. Eventually that record has to break. It's just, can it break now when we need it? There's stumbling blocks for both teams. You've got to think City still have Chelsea to play. Imagine Mudryk coming in, scoring a hat trick, and putting City in the mud to give Arsenal the title. That would be amazing. But whatever happens at the end of the season, I can't say that I've ever been prouder of being an Arsenal fan. I'm used to going to watch games where we go away to places like Anfield, Old Trafford, and inevitably we get turned over. White Hart Lane, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, whatever it's called now, getting turned over every single time. And we didn't take all 3 points from this game away at Liverpool, but we put in one hell of a performance, and there is nothing more you could ask from the boys. So hopefully we get to round it off with a title, a trophy. Great end to the season. But for now, on to the next game, West Ham away. Thank you very much for listening. And as always, any likes, comments, subscribes you can leave on the channel really goes a long way. I look forward to speaking to you all soon.